Tonight, American businesses and consumers left in limbo as President Trump threatens another major increase in tariffs. The soaring egg prices prompting a reported Justice Department investigation, and breaking news: a state of emergency on Long Island because of a large brush fire. First, the on-again, off-again tariffs. U.S. companies now bracing for the worst, with President Trump threatening up to 250% tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy. The president insisting Canada has been ripping us off for years. Why these new tariffs could send shockwaves through the housing market. Plus, we're hearing the Justice Department wants to find out if the largest egg producers conspired to hike prices. The industry now answering back. And the new spending plan rolled out by House Speaker Mike Johnson to avert a government shutdown just days from now. Also tonight, the horrific images: Russian missiles raining down on Ukraine, adults desperately trying to protect children from the onslaught. Vladimir Putin hoping to take advantage after the U.S. suspended military aid and intelligence to Ukraine, but could talks soon resume on a possible minerals deal between the Trump administration and the Ukrainian government. Here at home, a 14-year-old is charged with murdering a New Jersey police officer. Police say that officer was shot before he could get out of his squad car. A second officer also wounded in the wild shootout. A rising NFL star facing felony charges. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy accused in what's being called a case of domestic assault. The arson investigation underway in Miami after multiple yachts go up in flames. A standoff at the London landmark Big Ben. A man carrying a Palestinian flag climbed the tower, the standoff lasting hours. The eagle's nest is getting crowded. Mom and dad are now caring for triplets after another eaglet hatched overnight. And America Strong, the inspirational love story and surprise proposal captured on camera.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Whit Johnson. We begin tonight with breaking news. Several wildfires raging across New York's Long Island, gusty winds fueling the flames. Just moments ago, the governor declaring a state of emergency. At least one firefighter injured, and at least two commercial structures have been damaged. Multiple roads and the main highway in the Hamptons closed due to the flames. Let's get right to ABC's Phil Lipoff. And Phil, what's the latest on where these fires are spreading?
Well, Whit, as you point out, just moments ago, New York Governor Kathy Hochul issuing that state of emergency because multiple wildfires are burning now along the Sunrise Highway, which is in Suffolk County on Long Island, as you pointed out. The highway is now closed in both directions. Two structures so far, commercial structures, have been damaged. At least one firefighter injured, we're told, suffering burns to their face. Residents in towns now on alert, smoke filling the air over highways. The New York National Guard already on alert and assisting by helicopter. All of this coming after the National Weather Service put out an alert for elevated risk of fire spread across the region. Powerful gusts up to 35 miles an hour and low humidity across Long Island, the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast coast today. Town of Southampton is actually asking residents to refrain from any outdoor recreational fires over the next 24 hours. So again, that state of emergency here in New York, wildfires burning out on Long Island. Whit?
Yeah, those winds having a big impact. Phil Lipoff for us. Thank you. We turn now to the looming tariffs rattling the economy and consumers as President Trump threatens Canada with steep reciprocal tariffs on lumber and dairy products up to 250%, which could come as soon as next week. Economists predicting that higher lumber tariffs could unleash pain across the U.S. and would add up to $10,000 to the cost of building a new single-family home. And the threat of tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada have consumers worried about yet another spike in food inflation when they're already shelling out more for groceries. And Wall Street responding too with one of its worst weeks in 6 months. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent Selena Wang in Washington.
Tonight, American businesses bracing for President Trump's latest tariff threat. Trump vowing new tariffs on Canadian lumber and dairy products in response to the up to 250% tax Canada puts on American dairy and lumber to protect its own industries.
They make it impossible for us to sell lumber or dairy products into Canada.
Economists and builders warn higher tariffs on lumber could cause pain here in the U.S. Dennis owns this lumber yard in Maryland. Tariffs on Canadian lumber, would that harm your business?
It's going to hurt my sales in the long run.
The National Association of Home Builders says even a 25% tariff on Canadian lumber would increase the cost of building a new single-family home by up to $10,000. President Trump says that foreign countries pay the price of tariffs.
My customers are going to pay for it. So it's going to be passed on.
The new warnings from Trump cap off a head-spinning week in Washington. On Tuesday, Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports. On Wednesday, a one-month exemption for American car makers. Then one day later, another one-month delay for tariffs on most goods from Mexico and Canada. The confusion and chaos tanking the stock market in one of its worst weeks in 6 months. The president saying the uncertainty is here to stay.
There'll always be changes and adjustments. There'll always be some modifications. I mean, if you have a wall in front of you, sometimes you have to go around the wall instead of through it.
What Doge is really trying to do.
Outside of Washington, Republicans also feeling the heat, voters slamming Trump and Elon Musk's efforts to downsize the federal government.
And I'd love for you to stand up to Doge and Elon Musk and speak out against any more cuts.
Elon Musk is not hiring or firing anybody. That is left up to the department heads.
In a tense White House meeting, the billionaire clashing with members of the cabinet over cuts. Trump downplaying the dispute, saying the administration will be more targeted going forward.
And Selena Wang joins us now from the White House. Selena, you're also learning new details about the Republican plan to avert a government shutdown.
That's right, Whit. House Speaker Mike Johnson has unveiled a spending bill that would keep the government funded through September. It boosts resources for immigration enforcement and defense while cutting some other programs here at home. But actually getting that bill passed will be a major challenge. Democrats are against it. They argue that it empowers Elon Musk in his efforts to aggressively slash federal spending. Whit?
A lot of moving parts in Washington. Selena, thank you. And tune into This Week tomorrow morning. Jonathan Karl speaks with top White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett about the economic fallout from President Trump's shifting tariff decisions. We go overseas now, and Russia launching a new wave of deadly aerial assaults against Ukraine. More than 20 people killed during the attacks. Dozens of people have been injured, including children, and several buildings damaged and destroyed. The latest violence follows the U.S. decision to withhold intelligence and military aid to Ukraine. ABC's Perry Russum reports from Washington.
Tonight, another wave of Russian airstrikes across multiple Ukrainian towns. At least 20 people killed, dozens hurt, children among the injured. In the Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine, several apartment buildings hit. In Odessa, buildings left in a fiery rubble, windows blown out another. This man says adults cover children like the shell of a turtle. The attacks come after the Trump administration froze military aid to Ukraine and hours after the U.S. cut off their access to commercial satellite imagery.
When it comes to the intelligence pause, that has an immediate effect. And Russia took advantage of it by launching a substantial aerial bombardment.
European leaders vowing to increase their defense budgets and provide assistance to Ukraine. Trump yesterday before the latest attacks.
President Putin is bombing Ukraine.
Yeah.
Do you still believe him when he tells you that he wants peace?
Yeah, no, I believe him. I believe him. I think we're doing very well with Russia. But right now they're bombing the hell out of Ukraine, and I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine.
The Russian attacks come ahead of a crucial meeting between U.S. and Ukrainian officials on Tuesday in Saudi Arabia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says there were many calls with the Trump administration yesterday, saying intensive work is ongoing.
Do you, Mr. President, think that Vladimir Putin is taking advantage of the U.S. pause right now on intelligence and military aid to Ukraine?
No, I actually think he's doing what anybody else would do. I think he wants to get it stopped and settled, and I think he's hitting them harder than he's been hitting them.
President Trump says based on the fact that Russia is pounding Ukraine, as he says, he is considering sanctions and tariffs against Russia until there is a ceasefire and peace deal in place. Whit?
Perry Russum for us tonight. Thank you. Growing concerns following deadly clashes in Syria as well. More than 1,000 people, mostly civilians, have died during fighting between government forces and supporters of former President Bashar al-Assad. Let's bring in ABC's Lama Hassan. And Lama, this raises major questions about stability once again in Syria.
Yeah, that's right. We're tonight a major escalation in sectarian violence in several Syrian cities on its west coast, with strong images circulating online. 2 days of fierce fighting between the new government security forces and loyalists of the ousted former President Bashar al-Assad have killed at least 1,000 people, and most of them are civilians. Dramatic nighttime videos showing the violence. You can hear the sound of gunfire. The deadly clashes erupting on Thursday after pro-Assad loyalists ambushed members of the government security forces. The fighting spread with revenge killings for those deaths. There are growing fears that this could trigger more ethnic reprisals and more bloodshed. Whit.
All right, Lama Hassan, thank you. Back here in the U.S., a deadly and tragic night in New Jersey. A detective fatally shot and another officer in critical condition after a gunfight on the streets of Newark. A 14-year-old facing multiple charges, including murder and attempted murder. Here's ABC's Ika Jachi.
Tonight, a 14-year-old now charged with murder after a shootout with police in Newark, New Jersey that left one officer dead and another wounded.
Got an officer shot in the section on the way to the hospital. Block off traffic, please, so they can get there.
Authorities say around 6:30 p.m. on Friday, officers were investigating several people for allegedly harboring illegal weapons when gunfire erupted in the streets.
Shots were exchanged upon the interaction with the police and those individuals. And unfortunately, 2 officers and 1 suspect were hit by gunfire.
Police cars racing to the scene. Residents say they heard a barrage of bullets.
It was 10 shots, I want to say like the whole clip, basically.
5-year veteran on the force, 26-year-old Detective Joseph Azcana struck while still in his police car. He was pronounced dead at the hospital early this morning. A second officer, also wounded but expected to recover. Police say that 14-year-old suspect also suffered non-life-threatening injuries and is being treated. At least 1 gun from the suspects was recovered from the scene, according to investigators.
We just have to do a better job. I have to do a better job. Our families have to do a better job. The community has to do a better job at making sure that our children are not handling guns in the street, shooting at police officers.
Where prosecutors say 4 people remain in custody. Tonight, the investigation is ongoing. However, authorities say everyone involved has been captured. Whit.
Ika Jachi, thank you. Now to the arrest of a rising NFL star, Kansas City Chiefs rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy. The 21-year-old taken into custody on Friday night in Central Texas and charged with a domestic violence felony against a family or household member. The new details coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Zoreen Shah.
Tonight, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy arrested on a felony domestic violence charge in Texas, now facing possible prison time. The 21-year-old arrested Friday night in Williamson County, Texas, not far from where he played in college with the Texas Longhorns. Jailhouse records describing a scenario in which he allegedly choked a family member or household member. The alleged victim in this case has not released a statement yet, but Worthy's lawyers calling those domestic violence allegations baseless and saying that they are cooperating with law enforcement, adding, "We have full faith their thorough investigation will support Mr. Worthy's innocence." The arrest comes just 1 month after his performance at the Super Bowl, the rookie scoring 2 touchdowns.
I'm just excited I got the opportunity and now I'm here.
Worthy was a standout college player, also breaking an NFL record for the 40-yard dash at the Combine. Kansas City Chiefs say the team is aware of the situation and is gathering information. Just last year, another Chiefs wide receiver, Rashee Rice, facing a potential 3rd-degree felony charge for a street racing incident that resulted in a 6-car crash in Dallas, Texas. Worthy is charged with 3rd-degree felony in Texas. If convicted, he could face 10 years behind bars and a $10,000 fine. Whit.
Zoreen Shah, our thanks to you tonight. Turning now to those soaring egg prices, prompting the Department of Justice to launch an investigation, according to sources. Antitrust enforcers apparently trying to determine if large egg producers conspired to limit the egg supply and raise prices. All of this as a bird flu outbreak has wiped out millions of hens, resulting in a nationwide egg shortage. Here's ABC's Alexis Christoforous.
Tonight, the U.S. Justice Department is in the early stages of investigating the country's largest egg producers for what some are alleging is a, quote, coordinated effort to restrict supply and inflate prices. The egg industry says the worst bird flu outbreak in U.S. history has forced them to cull tens of millions of hens, leading to consumers paying an egg surcharge at chains like Waffle House and Denny's and empty store shelves across the country. Prices have nearly doubled in the past year. Averaging about $5 a dozen, eggs now cost nearly as much as a pound of ground beef, and the USDA predicts egg prices could increase another 40% this year. At small businesses like New York City's Square Diner, owner Theodore Karunos is trying to hold off on raising prices.
If things hold up at this price, I'll pay $70,000 more for eggs than I did last year. I can't just absorb that hit for the next 9 months.
While consumers and businesses shell out more for eggs, profits are soaring at the nation's largest egg producer and distributor. Profits at Cal-Maine surged 342% last quarter compared to a year ago. In a statement to ABC News, the president of the American Egg Board saying to suggest that higher egg prices are the result of anything other than bird flu is a misreading of the facts and the reality. In 2023, a jury trial ordered Cal-Maine and 3 other companies to pay $53 million for unlawfully inflating prices, a verdict the companies are challenging. Cal-Maine has not returned ABC News' request for comment. But the looming threat of tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada have consumers bracing for more food inflation. Target already saying it will have to raise produce prices, Walmart warning of a sales slowdown, and Costco saying consumers are increasingly opting for cheaper alternatives like private label store brands over name brands. Experts warn egg prices may stay high even if the supply of eggs rebounds, as grocers and restaurants try to reclaim some of their lost profits. Whit.
Alexis Christoforous, thank you. Now to a long standoff high in the sky over London. A barefoot man carrying a Palestinian flag climbed up the tower that houses Big Ben. He stopped on a ledge and remained there for hours with police surrounding the building. Roads and tourist attractions in the area are closed. There is much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. A discovery in a river could help solve a 6-decade-old mystery. And the investigation in Miami. What caused the fire that destroyed 3 yachts? Next tonight, investigators are looking into what caused a massive fire at a boatyard in Miami. 3 yachts, one of them a 90-footer, went up in flames early Friday morning. Fire crews attacked the blaze from land and water using foam to put the fire out. There were no injuries. When we come back here tonight, a famous family of eagles just got bigger as a new member emerges. To the index now, authorities in Oregon believe they're coming closer to solving a 6-decade-old mystery. Crews pulled a Ford station wagon from the Columbia River near Cascade Locks on Friday. It matches the vehicle owned by Ken and Barbara Martin. They were last seen going for a drive in 1958 with their 3 daughters, ages 14, 13, and 11. Next, a famous bald eagle couple now has another mouth to feed. Overnight, a 3rd eaglet popped out of its shell in Big Bear, California. 2 older siblings hatched earlier this week. The online Eagle Cam has captured all of it for us. Parents Jackie and Shadow tending to their growing flock. Still ahead here tonight, how a simple dinner date turned into a magic moment. Finally tonight, America Strong.
It started as a typical dinner date between Michael Mays and his girlfriend Trinity Brooks at La Piazza, their favorite restaurant in Tulare, California, out celebrating their 3rd anniversary. Michael, a dirt bike enthusiast, has used a wheelchair for the last 9 years since a motocross accident left him paralyzed. Before sitting down at the table, Michael asked a couple nearby to record this video of what happened next. Michael wheels himself next to the table, then lowers down to the ground and onto one knee. Trinity, surprised at first, then embracing the moment as Michael presents her with a ring. The restaurant owner offering a gift to celebrate.
I gotta tell you this, I'm the owner of this place. Dinner today isn't me, but this doesn't happen all the time.
Tonight, the happy couple telling us they already have a wedding date set for next year.
Better start planning. Congratulations. Thanks so much for watching tonight. I'm Wade Johnson in New York. I'll see you on GMA in the morning. And don't forget to set your clocks ahead 1 hour when you go to sleep. Have a great night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir America's most watched newscast.